So in the first session for this term, we've got 3 subject areas we're going to cover: setting an agreed agenda, information exchange, and how we explain medical conditions. So overall, what I'm hoping by the end of the session that you will have done is used good communication skills to set this agreed agenda with your service users, explained at least 2 medical conditions in everyday language, used something called EPPE, which I'm going to explain, to facilitate information exchange with your patients or service users, and think about how that links with the model and process of nutrition and dietetic practice. So this is going to cover 2 screencasts, and the first one, this one, is about setting the agreed agenda. So this is going to be necessary whether you are inpatients, outpatients, your first time of meeting the service user, or follow-up, and sometimes with resolving different agendas, which we will talk about. Usually, the setting of the agenda happens after you have kind of built some rapport with your service user, you've done your introductions, and encourage the patient or service user to tell their stories. It might need to happen later on if you suddenly discover that you have a different agenda to your service user. And sometimes setting an agreed agenda can be described as a working alliance. So you set up a working alliance, an agreement about how you're going to work together. So a little bit about what the purpose is of setting the agenda, and it's to make sure that the purpose of the consultation is the same between you and the service user. It is a person-centered approach, which you already know quite a lot about, but it's really important to remember that a person cannot consent to a consultation if they don't have a clue what's going to happen. So we need to make sure they have that understanding and therefore know what they're consenting to. So does the patient or service user, do they have the same understanding as you do? Sometimes it will include clarifying time, explaining about confidentiality and what information may or may not be shared anywhere. It might also include what could be covered in the session. So it could be that you're just outlining the process of what normally happens in a dietetic consultation. And it might include explaining what you as a dietitian can and maybe cannot do. So often in a lot of areas of medicine and in motivation interviewing as well, this beginning phase is called involving or engaging. And some of this is going to seem very familiar to you. So we have your meetings and greetings and introductions, making sure that your patient knows who you are, and that you know who they are, and you've got the right patient, all of those kinds of things. And we've got that bit of rapport building, a little bit of small talk and welcoming to make people feel at ease. And then, as you've already done, we might be exploring the reason that the patient made the appointment. Could they explain to you what's led up to that appointment today? So you've got all that background. And part of this also is screening or checking that the reason for asking them to explain is to get their perspective, but also to check that your understanding is the same. And believe me, there are plenty of cases where you've received a referral that says one thing, but the patient comes expecting something else. So it's really important that we check that out right at the beginning. I would encourage you to explain the usual format of a consultation, and that might include clarifying what your role is. Don't assume people know what dietitians are and what they do. Many people do not. Also, people might want a little bit of explanation about confidentiality. Who's going to know about what they talk about? Where is that information going to be shared or not shared? And I think that's quite important to a lot of people. And it's really important that as we work through our consultation, that the patient is making an informed choice and that they are able to set realistic goals. So this beginning phase is really important for clarity, so that we both know, you and them both know exactly what you're expecting to happen. So it's an agreed agenda of what's going to happen, and a patient should be able to consent to that, and that would be informed consent. Just a few points to think about, and perhaps some of the questions or statements that you might make. Don't assume ever that the person wants to make any changes. They may have been pushed towards coming to see you, sent, told to go. It may not be actually as important to them as you think it's going to be. What might they like to focus on today? So, you could ask them, so what would you like to focus on today? And the patient might well not have a clue, because they haven't any idea what you do, what the recommendations are for their medical conditions. So you could get a really vague response there. But also make the patient feel uncomfortable, because should they know? Are you suggesting that they should have known and therefore they feel guilty or ignorant because they don't? So it might be that you have to go through some phases in order to actually set an agenda well. If they don't have very good understanding of their medical condition, we're going to come back to that later, would it help if I explained the medical condition and what the dietary recommendations are? So that people have that understanding. How can they decide what they want to focus on if they don't know what they need to do in the first place? So it might be that you have a question like, now that I've explained what the dietary recommendations are for type 2 diabetes, have you any thoughts on any recommendation that you would like to focus on? So rather than us going through our standard way of doing things, what makes sense to them? What do they really want to focus on? Are there any changes that they might be interested in exploring? So sometimes people will come knowing quite a lot already and thinking, well, I know I'd like to do that, but I don't know how. And that's part of where our skills and the ability to help them problem solve can come in. But also, it's not just about what people know, it's about how they're feeling. How they're feeling about making any changes at the moment. It could be overwhelming. It could be too much for them to think about. It could be they really don't have a clue, or they're in shock with a diagnosis. And you really need to think about that in an inpatient setting where someone might have just received a diagnosis and spoken to a doctor, then a specialist nurse, then come to see a dietitian. It's all too much for everybody to take on board. And that's particularly likely to happen in an area like renal disease, for example. So someone gets told what the problem is, they see the nurse, see the dietitian, don't know what a dietitian is, don't know what's going on, and it's all overwhelming. So how they're feeling can be really important. What you're overall looking for is a long-term goal, and therefore making some small steps and agreeing on small steps that are going to go towards that long-term goal. So it might be that someone with diabetes wants their blood sugar levels maintaining in the healthy range. It might be that someone wants to lose a certain amount of weight, or that they are concerned about getting their potassium levels into the healthy range with renal disease. There's lots of different things, but it may be that the overall goal is a long-term aim and short-term things that people want to focus on first. You are aiming to find common ground. We know that if you can do that with someone and work together on something that you're agreeing with, that is much more likely to lead to the patient adhering to the treatment plans that you come up with. And just that reminder, one of you, I can't remember who, looked at person-centered approaches, and we discussed that briefly last term. And just this reminder that, we're looking at personalised care, what matters to that individual, and what works with their strengths and needs. And that includes this whole idea of shared decision-making and a shared agenda. We've got to develop the rapport and the relationship, get that shared sense of understanding, shared purpose, and working in partnership. And what people and the carers have said they want to see is that we check with them, is there something else they want to talk about? We give them opportunities to be an equal partner in that conversation and how that conversation goes forward. And what they're wanting to see in their dietitian is someone who's interested in them and their lives, their communities, what matters to them, and clearly explaining right from the very beginning that we want to work together with them. So it's not an add-on, it's core, and it comes from the very beginning. So there can be some challenges with setting an agreed agenda. And firstly, the obvious one is that you have very different agendas between yourself and the patient. They may be focused on something that's actually not related to the aim of dietary treatment. They may have heard about something, read about something and think, right, that's what I need to do. But it might not actually be as helpful to them as they think it is. So there's going to have to be some explanation and some negotiation there. We will have some patients for whom it's just going to be really difficult. They might need help, excuse me, children, for example, and families, people with a learning disability, people with poor mental health may be struggling to cope with change, people who are unwell or very distressed. And as I mentioned already, people who might be overwhelmed by a new diagnosis, or there might be too many options for them to work out which one's best. Sometimes we're going to have people who are ambivalent, so they want to make changes, but they don't. So they may have other agendas that are getting in the way, and we might need to work with them on how to deal with that. And we'll be looking at that later on in the course. There may be hidden agendas from either the patient or a carer. And it may be that diet simply is not the priority at the moment. There may be lots of other things going on in people's lives that make them feel I just can't deal with this agenda. Carers may have a very different agenda to the patient, and I'm afraid I've seen that many times, and that can be really challenging to deal with. And you have to also remember that agendas might change. So someone may have an agenda at one point, but at the end, they may change it. And this will often happen in palliative care. You've been working towards nutritional support, but it comes towards end of life and people say, just leave me alone. I just want to eat what I feel like. It's too much effort. So you have to be flexible and you have to respond positively to challenges that you face and changes in agendas. So what we're going to be looking for is a guiding style. And this terminology comes from the motivational interviewing world. So we, as two parties in the conversation, are going to discuss it. We're going to decide on the focus together. You have a responsibility to help the patient to that beneficial outcome. So it might be that you're explaining a medical condition and how diet links to it. You know, what sounds most appealing of those aspects of dietary change to that person? You know, can you help them to understand what we might work on together as to help you manage your cholesterol levels? So just examples there. What we need to avoid is directing. So us deciding this is my focus, I'm the dietitian, I'm the expert, I've got the focus and this is what we're doing without the patient's input. The opposite end is giving the patient completely control over the focus, but that's no good if it's not going to be helpful to their medical condition. So we've got to make sure that we are supporting them with information to make sure it remains focused on the medical condition. So in follow-ups, we might review notes, we might check if there's going to be any changes since the agenda, since we last met. Never assume it's going to be the same because you might stop the patient from sharing something really important. So where would I like to begin today? Or you might want to say, you know, we'd planned to discuss this today. Is that what you want to do, or is there anything else you wanted to raise? Because a lot could have happened in that since you saw that person last time. When they've discussed presented what they want to discuss, use a paraphrase, summarize it. So make sure you've got that agreed agenda to go forward. And just remember that revised agenda, it might be revised agenda, could really reduce anxiety in the patient. If they're very concerned about something and you ignore it, they're going to remain anxious.